It is already just a beautiful morning, and I hope you specifically are having a great day. But let's talk about some Nintendo hype and some rumors that have been floating around. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here. Now, just seconds ago, I decided to hop out of bed, and the first thing I see is this announcement that we're getting a Nintendo Direct tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, immediately what struck my eye is the fact that it says roughly 40 minutes of information, mainly focused on Nintendo Switch games launching in the first half of 2022. Now, I just wanted to throw out some guesses. This is purely for entertainment. Let's face it, this is just basically a presentation of upcoming games. It doesn't matter what they actually show. It's advertisements. But I'm still curious as to what might show up, because Nintendo's kind of been silent. Nintendo, more than anybody else, I say this as a criticism and as a compliment, they're very weird about keeping everything behind the curtain until it's properly prepared to be showed. Well, let's talk about some educated guesses about what I'm really hoping is going to show up. I've actually got a couple guesses here. Let me begin with a really safe bet by just saying that we're probably going to see a lot more of Splatoon 3. Now, if you haven't had a chance to play Splatoon 2, it has been such a crazy fun game. I don't talk about it enough, but Splatoon 2 is actually my most played Nintendo Switch game by far. More than Zelda, more than Pokemon, more than all the other things. Like, I am obsessed with Splatoon 2, and Splatoon 3 looks like just a nice notch above that. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes I see people try and criticize Splatoon and say that each of the games is just a small improvement. I actually enjoy this. Splatoon 1 was fantastic. Splatoon 2 managed to refine the map and make things just bigger and slightly better. Splatoon 3 looks the same. It looks like they're going to add in more cool stuff, better abilities, more specials, more weapons, and more reasons to splat each other. That's all I need. But speaking of threes, I definitely hope we see Bayonetta 3. I think the biggest thing about this presentation that sort of makes me think we should probably try and hold back some of our hype is just the fact that Nintendo specifically said, these are games for the first half of 2022. Okay, so if we're talking first half, they can't just blow their entire load instantaneously. But still, I think it's a good bet to think that Bayonetta 3, because it seems like it is finally very close to completion, because they've shown so much gameplay, I think that it's a good chance to bring it out again and say, yes, Bayonetta 3 is awesome, here's why you should be hyped. Maybe even they'll have pre-orders for Bayonetta 3 tomorrow at the end of the Nintendo Direct. Now, the game that's definitely going to be there, undoubtedly, is going to be Kirby and the Forgotten Island. Kirby and the Forgotten Land. This is that new Kirby game. This is that new Kirby game that's slightly open world to some degree, and it looks pretty great. I'm not the biggest Kirby fan myself. Like, Kirby is one of those weird things where every one of the games is such a banger, but I never get excited for it. I'm never really sitting here being like, yeah, bring back that freaking adorable marshmallow. This is legit the first time ever that I'm seeing a Kirby game, and I'm like, hell yeah, bring out that marshmallow. I'm curious to see more of the Forgotten Land, and hopefully it lives up to the hype and expectations it's sort of been building for itself. I like the idea of a rustic version of a happy Nintendo Land, and him kind of going around and treating everything like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Now, if we could go a bit more into crazy guesses, I want to end this off with 4 things that I'm really hoping show up. First and foremost, the House of the Dead remake. This was supposed to come out last year. It quietly got delayed. I love House of the Dead, obviously. I played a lot of House of the Dead 2 on Dreamcast. The House of the Dead remake is probably going to be real short and real sweet, much like the one they did for the Panzer Dragoon remake. But let's talk about something that's going to be gigantic that I hope shows up. The Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters. Okay, so everybody's been talking about these. I played through all of them now so far on the PC. I've played through them on Steam. These games are so good. The Pixel Remasters are remakes of all the classic Final Fantasy games with new art, new music, and some complete revisions to make sure the translations are perfect, and honestly the fact that there's just no glitches. Every Pixel Remaster is so good, but currently you can only play them on your PC or your cell phone. These need to be on Nintendo Switch. Like, straight up, the more these games just sit on hard drives, it drives me nuts the fact that we have no idea if the Pixel Remasters are ever going to be on consoles. I think if they go anywhere, they're going to begin on Nintendo Switch. And this could be a good chance to at least talk about it. They could come out and say, hey, once the last of the Pixel remasters comes out, which is FF6, which they promised would show up in February 2022, which, hello, it's where we're at. It's interesting to think if we get those as a debut on the Nintendo Switch. Speaking of RPGs, though, there's a very good chance, perhaps 99%, that we're going to see more of Triangle Strategy, which is sort of like Square Enix's new Final Fantasy Tactics style game. The demo they've released for it is hard, it's fun, it's kind of ridiculous. It's basically going to be a big mix of political intrigue, fantasy, magic, and lots of chances to try and flank your enemies. I've liked a lot of the Final Fantasy Tactics games. In fact, I've played all of them. But my thought is kind of just, what's going to make Triangle Strategy different? I like the demo, but I'm really excited to play Triangle Strategy and kind of just, figure it out. I think if they even dedicate 3 or 4 minutes to just Triangle Strategy, I'd be very, very happy. Now, let me make 2 ridiculous guesses to end this off. I hope that we finally see Silksong. Hollow Knight Silksong has been almost this holy grail of indie games. It's been talked about, it's been on the cover of magazines. It is a game that's going to be very, very fun and very, very gorgeous. But for some reason, despite the fact that there's so much hype, so many people prepared to throw their money the second it shows up, it's been very, very absent. A big hyped early year Nintendo Direct could be the perfect opportunity for them to come out and say, yes, Silksong is done, yes, Silksong is ready for launch, and here's the names and dates. Now, I think that the reason they might show Silksong is because they said specifically in the thing, mostly Nintendo Switch games coming to the first half of 2022. Maybe what that means is that some of this stuff is also going to be third party. Silksong appearing everywhere day and date in the next few months would be so incredibly hyped. But let me just end this with one that I don't think is going to show up, but God, I want it more than anything in the world. I am obsessed with Game Boy. I love classic Game Boy games. I always have Game Boys all over my desk and stuff. I want to see Game Boy games come to the Nintendo Switch Online service. Even package it as part of the expansion pack. I hope that they at least acknowledge the fact that people want more of the expansion pass games. More of those Nintendo classic retro games on your Switch. Yes, that's a very selfish request. All these games we're talking about today are just like sort of a pipe dream, but that specifically, everybody would love Game Boy games on the Nintendo Switch. But these have just been my thoughts. I just kind of wanted to do some off the cuffs because honestly, I haven't woken up yet. I am still waiting to eat my breakfast eggs. So I hope you guys have a great day. And after the Nintendo Direct tomorrow, I'll make a video talking about my thoughts. And let's all remember, tamper your expectations. This doesn't have to be the best presentation ever. If it's fun, if you had fun, then guess what? You won. And if it sucks, I'm going to roast it. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a giant thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. Oh yeah, Batman's definitely going to be there. Well, maybe I shouldn't leak that. Everyone knows Batman's going to be there.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.